As the numbers of infections spike, the number of mortalities spike, it was such an ironic, stunning twist last night to learn that the president had enough symptoms that he went in to get a lung MRI, got the COVID test. This is his fourth one that we know of. He took 3 back when he visited the White House in March. He just announced that he did test positive. He said we knew it would reach great corners of the population, and today, essentially, I have it. And it's no surprise he's announced that he's taking doses of hydroxychloroquine. This, of course, is the malaria drug that President Trump floated as a possible miracle cure months ago. When he did that, President Bolsonaro had his military stockpile millions of doses of this malaria drug. The WHO has just stopped a trial because they said it wasn't reducing mortality in COVID-19 patients at a sufficient rate to keep up with the trial, although there was a small study out of Michigan recently that found it did help somewhat. But there's no consensus at all yet that drug should be used. But in Brazil, the president has decided everyone will use it. So this can go a couple different ways. He can get better and credit the hydroxychloroquine for curing him. He can get worse, who knows, and it might change his attitude. But Kate, what makes this story so ironic is that more than any other world leader, Jair Bolsonaro has dismissed this as hype, as much ado about nothing, a little flu and too much misinformation, he says, from the fake news. He's taken to using that Donald Trump term as well. And so even though the numbers were mounting, 65,000 dead now, over 1.6 million cases that we know about, by some academic estimates, it could be 10 times at least higher than that because there's so few tests here. Big cities are starting to open. Sao Paulo, every state is different. It's much like the United States. It depends on the local governor and mayor and how cautious they are. But Sao Paulo was opening yesterday. We saw people elbow to elbow in a shopping district. A lot of masks out there. But the president has no doubt set a tone, sort of a dismissive a tone towards COVID-19, even as the numbers have mounted now. But now we'll see how he fares now that he actually has that disease.
Yeah, Kate? I mean, I must say, it is striking that where you're reporting from right now, Bill. There's no question about the seriousness of the crisis in Brazil when you see what you are standing amongst right there. But the fact that, and remind our viewers, the president, there was some reporting that he had gone in for a lung scan. That was one of the things that he had gone in for that kind of prompted this test. And obviously now we know that he has it.
Yeah, we've seen video of him, and then it's become somewhat of a crowdsourced effort to watch how many videos you can find of President Bolsonaro coughing when he's out in public, taking selfies and deliberately sort of flouting the social distancing rules that he resists for economic reasons. So yeah, you would say if he was symptomatic, it means he probably had a bad cough. He went in to check his lungs out. And while he was there, they gave him this test. The ambassador to Brazil from the United States had lunch on Independence Day, so he'll have to be tested, and everyone else in that entourage probably as well. But it was inevitable. I mean, this is the thing that all of his top health advisors have been warning him against, is if you go into a crowd of people without a mask, you are gambling with their lives and your own. He fired his first Dr. Fauci of Brazil, as it were, his health minister. The second one didn't last a month. Now a general is running things right now. But just again, to give you the scope of what's happening down here, I met a gravedigger here at the biggest cemetery in Latin America, who's been working here for 25 years. He says, I've never seen anything like it. And they're digging these graves as fast as they can. And because there's such a constant demand, the government has said that visitation, basically your funeral for family members, Kate, can last no more than 10 minutes. And so it's almost grief on an industrial scale. And so many people are so fascinated to see if the president's diagnosis now will shift his approach to trying to flatten this curve in Brazil.
Yeah. Bill, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. As we continue to follow this breaking news, let me bring in CNN medical analyst, Dr. Kent Lepkowitz. Doctor, just your reaction. There's very little we know about the Brazilian president's condition. I'm just looking down at some notes that were just sent to me that he did go in. He was showing symptoms consistent with COVID, including a temperature of 100 degrees. That's what they had said yesterday, but they also say today that his temperature is back to normal. Just your reaction to this diagnosis?
Well, I think that he's certainly someone who has not taken precautions and has actually advised his country to not take precautions. So he may well have it. I think he's an older man. I don't know his medical history in terms of the likelihood that he'll have any sort of severe outcome. The presence of fever, we don't know much else, makes me think that if indeed he has it, it may well be mild, but that's all speculative without knowing his medical history. It's concerning.
I'm sorry, doctor. I was just going to say he's 65 years old, so he's on the low end of the high risk kind of category for people who would have COVID. Again, not knowing exactly what the extent of his medical history, though.
His weight does not seem a problem, and that probably, between age and weight, those are probably the two largest risks outside of known lung disease. So he may well do okay, but some people with no known risks, of course, don't do well. I mean, we obviously wish him well. I hope that this will mean something to him personally in terms of how he projects